chi-squared test looks at comparing what can possibly be observed with what we expect to observe under independence and for certain fixed row and column sums. For these fixed row and column sums, this is what we expect to observe, and here's one possible observation. What other possible observations could there be? In other words, what can go in these 4 cells? One possibility would be if we chose to change the value in the non-smoker and cancer cell to 23. If we did that though, we'd then be forced by the row sum to fill in 17 here, and then by the column sum to fit in 47 and 13 in the remaining cells. In all, we were only free to choose 1 cell out of the 4. This is our 1 degree of freedom and corresponds with using the formula number of rows minus 1 times number of columns minus 1. Let's look at a slightly bigger example with 3 columns and 2 rows. Here we would expect to have 3 minus 1 equals 2, multiplied by 2 minus 1 equal to 1 would give us 2 degrees of freedom. Let's try again with the fixed column and row sums. I'm going to freely choose this cell right here, but if I do that, I'm forced to choose the cell above it in order to meet the column sum requirements. Nothing else is forced though, so let's pick another one that we could freely give a value to. For example here, now we're forced by the column sum, by the row sum, and again by all of the totals to fill in the remaining cells. We have 2 degrees of freedom corresponding with what our formula told us. Let's try one last bigger example, and I'm just going to randomly pick one cell that I'm going to freely choose a value for. Let's say this one. I'm not forced into picking any of the other values by row sums or column sums. Let's just keep going. I could freely pick this one. Still nothing is forced. I could go here. I could go here. Still nothing is fixed. If I pick one here though, I have to fill this one in to meet the column sum. Similarly here, I'm now forced to pick that one, and now that one, and now that one, and finally this one. In all, we had 6 free choices, which corresponds with 3 times 2 equal to 6 degrees of freedom. So in general, we have that the degrees of freedom is equal to the number of rows minus 1 multiplied by the number of columns minus 1.